What's up, everybody? Welcome back to One More Guitar. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons down there. It really does help me out. Helps the video get promoted some. Alright, so today I'm going to start something that hopefully will be pretty fun and informative to you guys. I've had several people ask me, what my opinion is on, should I buy a lower end Gibson, at the bottom tier of their offerings, or should I buy a higher end Epiphone at the top tier? And, to be honest, I kind of want to know the answer to that too. So I thought what I would do is do a series of videos diving into that subject and see if we can figure it out together. What's the better option? I'm not a professional musician, so, I've always really been looking for that sweet spot of the best guitar I can buy for the littlest amount of money. That's really been my goal up until recently. But the more I buy guitars, I start to question my investments. If I needed to get my money back, could I do it? And so that kind of started coming into play. I think Epiphone and Squier both make really good products for a relatively little price. So it's really hard to knock them on that front. But when it comes to resale value, sometimes they're not the best. So we're definitely going to take that into consideration too. So I've already got some preconceived notions about when you should buy an Epiphone versus when you should buy a Gibson. But I thought I would take a step back and do these videos for you and for myself, and see if we can form a proper opinion about if it's ever right to buy an Epiphone versus a Gibson, or if you should always go with the Gibson. This series may take some time to come to a conclusion, and I'm not going to come to a conclusion in this video today, but I want to make incremental progress and always try to end on something that gives you something to think about when it comes to Epiphone versus Gibson. Then we're going to look at the current products that they offer in the price range that we're talking about here. And I'm going to define that as between $700 and about $1,400. Somewhere, right at the top of Epiphone and right at the bottom of Gibson. So now what I want to do is I want to look at the guitars that Epiphone is offering and the guitars that Gibson's offering. And I'll look a little outside of the price range, but I'm really going to try to stick to that $700 to $1,400 price range. And just see if we can get a comparison of, the pickups, the colors, all the different options that are offered in each of these. So let's go check that out. All right, so now what I want to do is just take a look at what Epiphone and Gibson offer in this price range that we've defined, which again is $700 to $1,400. So what I've done is I've gone to Sweetwater and I've just searched Epiphone and I've sorted everything by price, high to low here. And I want to take a moment to mention that I have no affiliation with Sweetwater. I'm just using their site because I think they actually have the best site to do this. So I'm going to look at the Epiphone guitars. I'm going to do solid body guitars, but you can imagine that this will be pretty similar if you're looking at semi-hollow bodies as well. So the first thing we'll see here is that at the top of the Epiphone line we have the Prophecy series. I think that's going to be the highest one we have all the way through. So the last one, is the Prophecy. So let's take a look at a Prophecy and just see what you get with the most expensive Epiphone that's on the market right now. Okay, it looks pretty good. We've got a couple of color options here. Got this red tiger aged gloss and black aged gloss. And I'm showing the olive tiger aged gloss. And each of the models of the Prophecy series have different colors. Some of them overlap, but there are some variations. So let's see what's in this guitar. Okay, so the first thing you may notice or know about these guitars already is they have the Fishman Fluence humbuckers in them. Those are really desirable pickups and something that you're definitely not going to get at the lower end of a Gibson. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any Gibsons that have these. So something else to consider, sometimes with Epiphones you can get stuff that you can't get in Gibson. Alright, the next thing I notice here is that it has the slim taper neck. That's a neck that you can often find on Gibsons, so one more similarity here, I guess. Another thing I'll point out is you can see these cool inlays that the Prophecy series has, where it has the color of the guitar matched, set inside of the inlay. That's pretty cool. It comes with Grover Rotomatic tuners, again, another spec that you see on Gibsons quite often, but not necessarily on the lower end Gibsons, usually on the higher end stuff. Same with the Graphtec nut. Gibson's using that a lot right now. Okay, so it does have a full maple top. Now, I know for sure that that's a veneer, you know, on the very top of the guitar, but it'll have a full maple cap underneath it, just like a regular Les Paul does. I mentioned the Fishman Fluence pickups. Oh, it has a contoured heel, so that's nice. Again, something you will not see on the lower end Gibsons for sure. Got weight relief. I mentioned these are pretty common Gibson specs. Scroll down here and show you that basically the Prophecy series all comes with these kinds of specs, and you can see here we can confirm that it is a maple veneer, but it does have the cap. So yeah, so all of the Prophecy series comes with, you know, pretty much the same specs. Pretty cool guitar, I think, especially if you're looking for something with those pickups. I think they've got a, you know, cool finish on them, and I really like what they've done with the inlays. I think that's really cool. So let's see what else we can find in Epiphone. Okay, next I see a couple of signature guitars here. We have a Tony Iommi guitar. Let's check that out. So I can already see that we have the cross inlays here. Let's see what the specs are on this. Check the price real quick. $850. Okay, so he spec'd it out. Manufactured to be good enough for Tony to play on stage. I mean, heck, if he can do it, why not? Let's see, I'm curious what the fretboard is. The fretboard's made of ebony. Got a graphite nut. And 2 USA pickups. So you get custom pickups. And again, quality components on this guitar. It only comes in black, but I mean, it's a signature model, so that's usually the case. Well, what else we have? Alright, next up we'll check out this Tommy Thayer guitar. It's the same price, $849. I mean, just look at this thing. You want something special, there it is. Look at that. There's been several YouTubers do demos of this guitar, and it's even more sparkly than this in person, so, or in real life I should say. Like I said, if you want something unique, you're definitely not going to see something like that at the lower end of the Gibson. So let's check it out, the specs. You got 2 Seymour Duncan pickups in it. I mean, even if you're not a Kiss fan, this is going to be a good guitar. You know, this is going to have some good pickups in it with a really flashy color, if you like the color. Again, we see the slim taper neck. Look at that headstock, holy lord. Rotomatic tuners. And we have a case. Okay, that's another thing I want to mention. The Prophecies and the Tony Iommi signature guitar, neither one of those came with the case. But usually in the higher end of Epiphone, you're going to get a case with the guitar that you get. Again, as you can see, that's not always true, but usually it comes with a case. So you get some really cool options in the higher end of Epiphone here. But I'm pretty sure this is a this is a Sweetwater exclusive. So this one's got push-pull. We've got the 57 Classic pickups in it, trapezoid inlays. Oh, and it does come with a case. Alright, so just another example of that for $850. Alright, now we're under $800, and next up we have the 1959 Les Paul Standards. And I can definitely vouch for this one. I have one of these. I love this guitar. It's a great guitar. I'll put a link up in the cards if you want to check that out. Definitely comes with a case. It's got an Indian Laurel fretboard. Top is a veneer, but it does have the full cap. This has got American Electronics pickups. Got the 59 neck profile. So this was a pretty cool thing I think they did. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Like I said, you can go back and watch my videos. I've got a couple of them about this guitar. I do really like it a lot. Alright, so let's check out the Epiphone Dave Rude Flying V. This is another signature guitar. Look at this. White neck. How awesome is that? So let's see what it comes with. Okay, so this has the Pro Bucker pickups. Still has the Grover Rotomatic tuners. I don't see anything about a case. Let's look down here. It has a soft shell case. Okay. Alright, so now it looks like we're getting into the standard production line models. And that's just going to be, you know, your moderns, your classics, the 50s and 60s ones. So for Epiphone, let's just look at these prices real quick. We're saying $700 Get some nice looking stuff here. A lot of options. Here's 650. I'm gonna go until I find the first SG in this list. All right, so we've got more Les Pauls. We're going down now. We're at 600. These 50s and 60s Les Paul standards are great. Got a Firebird, got an Explorer, we got another V. Still no SG. All right, let's keep going. Okay, there's our SG. So we've gotten down to $579. So between $579 and $700, you can pretty much get a good standard Epiphone version of, let's say, an SG, a Les Paul, an ES335, you know, Explorer, V. You have a lot of options here in this price range. Oh, I will mention one more thing, since I can see these Crestwoods pop up here, is that Epiphone also has some stuff that Gibson doesn't have. So that's another thing you may want to consider when looking at Epiphones. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Gibson and we're going to take a look at that. So I've done the opposite here. I've sorted these by price, low to high. So we're going to start at the bottom of the range and we're going to go until we hit about $1,400. Alright, so right out of the gate, it looks like we're at $1,000 basically. Looking at the top row here, I see that all of these have satin finishes. And we have a couple with P90 pickups. We have a few with humbucker pickups. I'm going to look at humbuckers because we didn't look at anything with P90s in the Epiphone line. Mainly because they're lower in the price range. Okay, so what we have? I have a nice looking slab of wood there. A couple of humbuckers. Kind of a small, odd pick guard there. 4 controls. An output jack, a toggle switch with no poker chip. Looks like we have dot inlays. Let's check out the specs. That's what I thought. It was a slab body. Okay, so it says Modern Gibson Classic Humbuckers. So what these are the 490R and the 490T. And they say they have similar tonal characteristics to Gibson's popular 57 Classic pickup. Oh, one more thing I want to look at here were the color options. So we've got the red, the white. The red or the white? And the ebony. And the natural walnut. Okay. So we got a nitro finish, of course. Again, that's a preference. Some people like nitro, some people don't. It's a more expensive finish, and that drives the price of a guitar up. If you like it or not, I guess that's your preference. It does age over time, where gloss doesn't age. Okay, we have a rosewood fingerboard. We have vintage deluxe tuners. It says it has a maple neck with a rounded neck profile to feel extra comfortable in your hands. They just have acrylic dots as the inlays. It's a rosewood fingerboard though. We have the Graphtec nut, and it comes with a gig bag. So, no hard shell case at the lower end of the Gibson from what we've seen so far. Let's see if that holds true. Okay, so we've pretty much looked at these. Again, I'm going to skip the P90 versions. Here we'll look at the SG. Let's look at the red one here. So now this SG is $1,000. Well, $1,100 actually. Again, we have the satin finish. This comes in the 2 colors here. So that's one thing that I want to point out, is that the color options in the lower end of the Gibsons are very limited. They look good, but they're limited. So again, we've got the 490 pickups, tribute across the truss rod cover. I'm sure all of them do that. So Sweetwater says they come plecked. That's going to make your playing experience a little better. So something to take into consideration there. Again, nitro satin finish. Alright, I want to pause right here and talk about the difference between the satin nitro finish and the gloss nitro finish. This SG here has the satin finish, and you can tell it kind of looks like it doesn't have any finish at all. The satin finish is very thin. Now this guitar is a few years old, so some of it's worn off, but this is what it'll look like after a little bit of wear and tear. It's very thin. Some people say it makes the wood resonate more. Maybe it does. Here is a full gloss nitro finish. And again, this is a newer guitar. Not a lot of wear on this yet, but you can tell that it shines a lot more, and it's a lot thicker finish. So I just wanted to point that out so you kind of knew what the differences were when we're talking about these. Alright, now back to looking at these guitars. Graphtec nut. So basically the specs look very similar. Alright, so now let's take a look at some Les Pauls. And we've added another $100 to the price at this point. So we're now to $1,200. These are some good looking guitars. You can tell that the wood grain looks really good in them. The finishes are, you know, very popular, typical Gibson finishes. You don't have nearly the variety here that you do in the Epiphone range, but I think these look great. Okay, so let's see if we have similar specs. I mean, it looks similar to me, except now it looks like we have trapezoid inlays instead of dots. What do we have? 490, 490, yes. We have, again, the rounded neck. I'll talk more about that neck profile when I do the video comparing the two SGs. No fancy electronic switching or anything like that. Okay, so let's keep going here. Alright, looks like we have one more option at the $1,400 mark. And that is an SG with a P90. So, again, I'm not going to go into that. Alright, so like Epiphone, let's go ahead and look towards their standard models and just see what we get here. Okay, so we have the Les Paul Studios, which comes with the gloss nitro finish instead of satin. We're still in the studio models here. It's an SG standard for $1,500. Let's see what pickups are in here. 490 set. So even the SG standard comes with the 490 pickups. Okay, studios, specials. Let's go ahead and get into... Alright, got the Explorer, the V. Now we're starting to get into their standard models here. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's just take a look at one of these. I'll look at one of the Sweetwater exclusives here. Alright, so you get some interesting finishes when you start to get to this level, it looks like. Let's see what other finishes come on this guitar. Yeah, I think those look pretty good. Alright, let's check out the specs. Alright, now we're getting the slim taper neck. You still got the plecked frets. That's pretty sweet. But yeah, remember most of the Epiphones we looked at had the slim taper neck. Got the full nitro finish now. It's no longer satin. Alright, we got burst buckers and the neck and bridge, so that's pretty awesome. Those are really good pickups. I like those a lot. You get the full finish. I like the profile. You get, you know, trapezoid inlays instead of dots. You get ABR1 bridge. So at this level, you know, I think you're looking at some really, really good guitars. Got the Grover Rotomatics. Got a hard shell case. Yeah. So these are really nice, and as you can imagine, they only get better from here. Since we looked at the SG standard, I do want to take a look at a Les Paul standard just to see what the price is, so we can compare it to the Epiphone price. Because the Epiphone Les Paul standards were somewhere, I think, between $500 and $700. Look at the classics. There's another V. Classic. Here we go. Standard. $2,500. These tops look pretty good though, don't they? So, I mean, you're looking at almost $2,000 more for a Gibson Les Paul standard than an Epiphone Les Paul standard. I mean, when you start comparing it directly like that, I mean, $2,000 is a huge difference. What are you looking at? 4 more guitars that you could buy? So, I mean, that's something to consider. Although these are going to be fantastic guitars. It all depends on what you need, what your preferences are, what you like, what you want. Alright, so I think we have a good idea now of what's on the market for Epiphone and for Gibson in our price range, and how to compare, you know, their standard models to one another. So let's wrap things up today by looking at the differences that we saw between Epiphone and Gibson in this price range. We'll start by talking about the finish. On the Epiphones, you got a gloss poly finish, but you had a lot of different color options. Especially if you were at the higher end of Epiphone, you pretty much could choose from any color option they offered. For the Gibsons, you had the satin nitro finish. You know, that could be a preference. Some people like it, some people don't like it. And you also had a very limited number of color options to pick from. Next, we'll talk about the pickups and the electronics. I noticed in the Epiphones you had a variety of USA or Gibson pickups, and they also came with USA components and wiring like CTS pots. So that was a nice option in the Epiphone. For the Gibsons, you pretty much only had the 490 set option. It still had USA wiring and pots and stuff like that, and these pickups are USA pickups. Again, this is just about a preference. Do you like those pickups or not? Because those are really the only option you have. Next, we'll talk about the bodies. Both of them have a mahogany body with a maple cap, but the Epiphones have a veneer top on them, whereas the Gibson, you're actually seeing the maple cap. I mean, something to note there. I think they put those veneers on there just to make the top look really good, but you know, it's not the real top of the maple cap, so just something to note there. The next thing is the neck profile. The Epiphones are typically coming with that slim taper profile, which is what you see on most mid to high-end Gibsons, whereas the Gibson models in the lower price range are coming with a rounded profile. And like I said earlier, we'll take a closer look at these profiles in future videos, but my best way to describe that rounded profile is it's very similar to the 59. It's kind of chunky. Alright, next we'll talk about the tuners. On the Epiphones, at the higher end, you got the Grover Rotomatics, just like you do on the mid to higher end Gibsons. Sometimes they come with Epiphone Deluxes, depending on the model or whatever they're trying to go for maybe a signature model or something. On the Gibsons in this price range, you only get the Gibson Deluxe, but I really have no complaints with those tuners. I like Kluson style tuners, and I think those work fine, so no complaints there. Next, the fretboard material on the Epiphones is usually Indian Laurel, but ebony and rosewood are still available on some models, but Indian Laurel is a lot more common these days. And on the Gibsons, all of them were rosewood in the price range we looked at. As far as the inlays go, you had a lot of variety again with the Epiphones, just depending on the model, a lot of different options. The Gibsons, it was mostly just dot inlays, although we did see some tributes at the end of the range there that had some block inlays, so something to note there. Pretty much all of the Epiphones we looked at had binding, and I don't think any of the Gibsons had binding at all. So something else to know about what you're buying in this price range. As far as the case goes, all of the Gibsons we saw came with a soft case, but it looked like a pretty nice case. I haven't actually tried one. But the Epiphones usually come with a hard shell case, but not always. Sometimes they come with a soft case, and occasionally they don't come with a case at all. You just have to look at the guitar and see if it comes with one or not. So let's compare the cost one more time here. At the high end of Epiphone, which is about $1,000, you can get anything that Epiphone offers for under $1,000. So you have a lot of choices. Whereas Gibson, you know, you have very limited choices under $1,500, and really maybe even a little more than that. I'd say till you start getting to about $2,000, your choices don't open up completely. So I think that really the bottom line of what I'm seeing here is that you just have a lot more options with Epiphone than you do with Gibson in this price range. So it's going to come down to your opinions, because if you want a blue sparkle guitar, you're going to have to save a lot of money to get that in a Gibson. So these are, again, just things to think about. Okay, so we've looked at the stuff that Gibson and Epiphone are offering right now in this price range that we've defined. We've talked about some of the pros and cons of each and some other things to consider. So I think that's a good place to leave off for today. I'm going to go think about this stuff some more. So in the next video, I'm going to compare this Epiphone SG to this Gibson SG I have over here. They're not in the current line, but they're very comparable to stuff in the current line. So I think it's a valid comparison even right now. So we'll look at that next time. I'm looking forward to that, just plugging them in and getting my opinion on them. I've kind of not played them, you know, together just so I don't get any bias for this. We'll see how this goes. So anyway, until then, take it easy and keep playing. I'll catch you next time.